Ready.
In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to the Room to Breathe podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so glad that you made space to be here with us today. Now, before we get into this episode, I need you to do me a quick favor. If you are feeling the vibe today, be sure to show us some love. Tap that screen, like, comment, and share this live out with someone who may need a little healing energy. Excuse me. And if this is your first time here or you haven't already done so, be sure to go ahead and give us a follow, subscribe to our channel, so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at theselfcareclub.org, where you'll find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch and free resources to help you grow on your journey. Remember, you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So be sure to give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and yes, to make space for peace, for growth, and most importantly, for you. Now, if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop some green hearts in the chat. It is our way of saying, I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Welcome in God's Purpose. Miss Sherry, I see you. Brooks, Tay, Ghost. We got Mr. Jackson in the house, Mira in the building. Welcome in, you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Now, today's conversation might step on a few toes. Okay, but that's okay, right? Because growth doesn't happen in comfort, right? We are going to talk about something that seems so small on the surface, but it runs deep when it comes to self-respect, boundaries, and how we address people. Now, I'm referring to names, primarily pet names, nicknames, mispronunciations, and yes, even those well-meaning terms like baby, sweetie, boo, right? Today we're going to unpack why it's just not just a word, it's a boundary, and why honoring a person's name is one of the most powerful ways to show respect. Now, before we dive in, let me ask y'all, how's your spirit doing today? How we feeling, family? Ghost said, oh, Lord, here we go. Ghost, I led with, I might step on a few toes. What you mean? What you mean, bruh? Listen, family, I need you guys to understand that your name matters. All right? Your name is not just a label. It's not just a convenience for someone else. Your name is a vibration, a calling, a story that carries pieces of you in every single syllable. Think about it. Before you even took your first breath, many of our names were whispered over us in prayer. Some of us were named after our ancestors, after visions, after qualities that your family wanted to see come alive in us, right? Your name was chosen for you with care, with intention, with love. So when somebody decides to dismiss that, shorten it, twist it, or rename it altogether, what they're really doing is stripping away that history, that story, that sacredness. And let's be real, it stings, right? And it's not just about the letters. It's about the identity. It's about belonging. It's about being seen fully as yourself. I'll give you an example. Think about when you were younger and someone at school or the workplace called you by a name that you didn't like. But you let it slide because you didn't want to make a big deal about it, right? You thought it's just a name. They teach us sticks and stones may break my bones, right? But deep down, every single time they said it, it felt off. It felt like they weren't actually talking to you. They were talking to the version of you that they had created to make themselves comfortable. That's not harmless. That is erasure in disguise. Brooke said, always in school, my name was botched. Yeah, that's typically where it begins, right? Now let me flip it. Think about this in the opposite. Think about the last time somebody pronounced your name correctly. They honored it, even practiced it until they got it right. Didn't that feel good? Didn't that feel like, yeah, you see me, right? You value me enough to slow down and honor me in full. That's the difference that respect makes. Welcome in, Butterfly. Welcome in, Success. This is why names matter. Because names are tied to our dignity, our identity, our humanity, right? This is why names matter. See, when you strip someone of their name, you strip them of their individuality. When you change their name without their permission, you reduce them to the narrative, your narrative, instead of respecting theirs. And when you honor their name, when you use it correctly, you're saying, I see you, I respect you, I honor you. So I want you guys to just pause and reflect. Think about the story that comes behind your name. Who chose it? What does it mean? How do you feel when someone says it right? Or how do you feel when someone just dismisses it? Because this is where the healing begins, right? When we stop shrinking, stop excusing, and start standing in the truth that our names deserve to be honored. Put some respect on my name, right? And let me slow down for a moment. Let me not get too ahead of myself, right? Because I need you guys to hear me with your whole hearts. Your name matters. Your name matters. Your name is not just a word that somebody uses to get your attention. It is a piece of your identity. It carries your lineage, your history, your family's hopes, your culture, your ancestors' voices. Some of us were named after grandparents. Some of us after biblical figures. Some of us after dreams that our parents had while we were still in their womb. Right? Your name is sacred. It is intentional. It is yours. So when somebody comes along and decides to shorten it, to switch it up, or to rename you, again, to make themselves more comfortable, it cuts deep. Because they're not just rearranging the letters, they're rearranging you, who you are. When I was younger, I remember being in the classroom and my teacher would stumble over my name. And instead of pausing and asking me how to say it correctly, she would just laugh, right? And my name is Shantae, okay? Shawnta. So when most people see it, it looks like Shanta. Very easily solved. I tell you, it is a long A at the end. So if you said Shanta, now say Shantae, right? And being that this was an English teacher, you would think that she would comprehend. And so she would just laugh. Now, I also had classmates. I I had a classmate whose name was Sisapan Santuvisu. I had a classmate whose name was Rahel Gabrencier. And she would say their names. She learned how to say their names. But she could not say Shantae. And she would just say, well, I'm just going to call you that because it's easier. It's easier for me to remember. What up, Mr. T? And, you know, imagine being a little black girl sitting in a room full of classmates, hearing an adult, a leader, right? Someone who's supposed to lead by example, decide that who you are is too much for them, too much trouble for them to acknowledge. And because I didn't want to be difficult, I went along with it. But every single day in class, it broke me down. And I can remember coming home one day and I was crying to my dad and I was just telling him how hurt I was that, you know, she would take the time to learn my classmate's name, but would never properly say my name. You know, it really hurt me. And so my dad taught me a very valuable lesson at that moment, that it doesn't matter what people call you. All that matters is what you answer to. And he reminded me that they named me Shantae, not Shanta, not Shawanta, not Shanita, not any other variation that people try to put on it, but he named me Shantae. And if people don't call me Shantae, then you do not answer. If people do not take the time to pronounce your name right, then you do not answer. Because again, it doesn't matter what people call you. It just matters what you answer to. So I remember I went back the next day feeling way more empowered than I had been all year. And attendance rolls around because y'all, she had to be the first class of the day. Okay, I had her, she was my homeroom teacher and my English class was right after that. So she would, you know, do roll call and she would say, Shanta, you're not going to answer today. She would say Shanta again. She would throw my last name in. Not going to answer. Then finally, she just started marking me absent. And she's looking dead at me, right? It's like that R. Kelly song. I looked at her and she looked at me, but she marked me absent. So then I felt defeated again because I'm like, you see me. You know you messing my name up and you know why I'm not answering you. But she started marking me absent. I go on about my business because I'm present. I'm doing my work. I got an A in this lady's class, so I don't even understand what the issue is behind she and I. But so anyways, fast forward. Now she wanted all the smoke ghosts. Like that's probably when little Shantae first became unhinged, right? So anyways, all of a sudden my parents are getting calls that I'm not in school, that I'm skipping class, but they can't understand because I'm in every other class and they dropped me off at school. So how am I not in first period? Okay. This was 7th grade. 7th grade. Miss St. Peter. Oh, raggedy lady. Just raggedy. Miss St. Peter, if you watching, you disrespectful. You know you disrespectful. But so anyways, y'all, finally my parents have to come in. My dad is like, cool, I'll be there. You know what I mean? And my dad wasn't really ever the one to come into the school. But my dad was like, nah, I'll be there. You know, he came in with my mama. She had beef with me. Yeah. I don't know why. I was a quiet kid for the most. But anyways, so we get in there. Now we're in the principal's office with the teacher, my dad, my mom. So we're in there and they're like, well, why are you skipping class? What's the issue with this class that you're skipping your class and you're skipping your homeroom? Yes, ma'am. And so I'm like, well, I'm not skipping class. I actually have an A. So, the principal starts going through the records and they're like, hold on, all your work is turned in, this, that, and the other. You're not missing any assignments. So then, of course, the principal, who looks like me, is like, the math ain't math and this isn't making sense. So she was like, what's really going on here? So I told the principal, I said, well, I have spent countless times telling this woman how to pronounce my name. She can say all my classmates' names, but she refuses. It's not that she's not capable of saying it, because she knows the difference between a long vowel and a short vowel, right? So I don't understand why she can't just say Shantae. She chooses not to. I find it highly disrespectful, and I'm not going to take it anymore. So my dad looks at me and he was like, and I told my daughter to stop answering if she cannot say her name. So, there was a conversation, child removed, adults had a conversation, and needless to say, the next day, Miss St. Peter said my name. But it was funny because she still wouldn't say Shantae, you guys. She would only call me by Miss and then my last name, which I thought, hey, that's fine. That's even a bigger sign of respect. Little does she know. You know what I mean? But that was probably the first time that I really realized how powerful, standing up for myself was when it came to someone speaking my name, and, acknowledging how small it made me feel, how unseen that made me feel, and I carried that situation with me for years. I mean, even to this day, you know what I mean? I'm triggered when my name is not pronounced correctly. And I think that situation shapes my relationship with my boundaries. So when you don't correct people on your name, you start teaching yourself how to accept being reduced, to accept being overlooked, to accept being made smaller so that way they feel comfortable. But I'm not going to dissect myself into bite-sized pieces to make it easier for you to chew me up and spit me out. Like, I'm not doing that. And, that lesson doesn't just stop with your name, right? Because that lesson then bleeds into your relationships, your friendships, your jobs, and every place that you step foot in where you deserve respect. And so, you have to ask yourself, again, what's the story behind your name? What is the meaning of your name? Why is it so important to you? Who chose it? Why? Maybe that person isn't even here anymore, and this is the last piece that you have to hold on to. Your name is not optional. It is not a suggestion. And it is not a favor for someone to get it right. It is the baseline of respect. And in case nobody has told you before, let me be the first one to say, you deserve to be addressed correctly, with care, every single time. Now, I don't expect everyone to show up and get it right the first time. I'll walk you through it. You show up, you say Shanta, sorry, it's Shantae. I don't want to hear Shanta no more. Right? Understand, this is your first lesson of a long, I don't want to hear it again. First time, shame on you. Second time you do it, that's shame on me. Now we got a problem, because shame don't have a seat at this table over here, right? Now, let's get into something that looks sweet on the surface, but it can carry some real sour energy underneath. Because just like I don't like to be called Shanta, I got a problem with pet names too, right? Y'all know the ones I'm talking about. Baby, boo, sweetheart, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with terms of endearment when they're invited. But the key word is invited. And this is a lesson that I even have to remind myself of, because I am notorious for saying, hey sis, hello love, hello beautiful, right? Name, because there comes a point where you just almost establish a relationship with one another, right? And so there's nothing necessarily wrong with the term of endearment, as long as it's invited, as long as it's welcome. But here's the truth. When you don't know me like that, when we don't have that type of relationship and you decide to put a label on me anyway, you're not honoring me. You said not the pet name. Yeah, listen. You're not honoring me. You're projecting you. You're telling me that you see, how you see me is more important than how I want to be seen. And sometimes, if we're being honest, sometimes these pet names are used to bypass respect. A man might call you baby, so he doesn't have to remember your name. A coworker might call you sweetie instead of acknowledging your position. Somebody in passing may say, hey, love, just to keep things surface level. But for some people, it ends up feeling, dismissive instead of personal. Think about how many times you've let someone, call you out your name with a pet name that you never consented to, that you never agreed to. Just because that, you didn't want to seem rude, so you just let them call you that. Right? I think we live in a culture that often tells women, especially Black women, that we are too much if we correct somebody, right? We're too aggressive, too sensitive, too difficult, right? So what happens? We tend to let that slide. We laugh it off. We swallow the comfort. And little by little, we teach people that it is okay to dismiss our boundaries. That's how small compromises turn into big wounds. So again, you have to find a balance with it. Because again, I stated, I'm constantly like, what's up, sis? Hey, love. What up, fam? Those are pet names too. And I am careful. And I understand that somebody may not like that. Right? Somebody may come back and say, I'm not your sister. Don't call me. Okay, my bad. And I respect it. And that's just the biggest thing. If someone corrects you because you've given them a pet name, even though your intent may have been good behind it, if someone corrects you and says that they don't want to be addressed as such, just take it for what it is. Right? A lot of times, it lands for some people as disrespectful, dismissive, or diminishing. But you have to understand that everybody has the right to correct it. Pet names without permission, for some people, feel like unwanted intimacy. It feels like somebody took a shortcut into closeness that they haven't earned. And for some of us, especially for those of us who have survived toxic relationships, being called baby or sweetheart without consent can be very triggering. It reminds us of the manipulation, the control, the being spoken to in ways that erased who we were. It's very triggering for me. No secret, right? Full transparency. Being called baby is very triggering to me. Because I'm not your baby, right? So don't call me baby. So what do we do about it, right? We set a boundary. Now, for some of you, it doesn't bother you, and hey, that's cool. But if it does, you need to set a boundary. And setting a boundary doesn't have to come with an apology or an explanation. It could be something just as simple as saying, please don't call me that. I'd prefer you use my name. Or that's not comfortable for me. All you need to do is be direct, clear, and respectful. Now, if they come back and they come out of a bag, sometimes you got to speak to the demons in the language that they understand. And listen, if that relationship is worth having, the person will adjust. What's up, Buddha? The person will adjust. And if they don't adjust, again, that just tells you everything you needed to know about how much respect that they had for you in the first place. So understand that I'm not difficult for wanting respect. I'm not sensitive for wanting to protect my peace. my name is enough. And I don't need to be called anything I didn't give permission to. Now we're going to pause for a second. I want y'all to drop a green heart in the chat if you've ever been called a pet name that didn't sit right with you. Drop a green heart in the chat if you've ever had your name butchered or botched. Go said me. Right? And again, the whole point of this is for us to begin to understand the boundaries, right? Boundaries as respect. We understand that boundaries are not a wall. They are a bridge, right? It's not about shutting people out. It's about showing people the right way to come in. When it comes to our names and how we want to be addressed, boundaries are the way that we teach people how to protect us, how to respect us. Because here's the reality. If you don't draw a line, someone else decides where that line goes. And 9 times out of 10, it won't be in your favor. Some of us grew up in households or cultures where we weren't allowed to have boundaries, where respect only flowed one way, and that was upward to our elders, to authority figures, but rarely downward to children or across to peers. And that conditioning has followed us into adulthood. That's why so many of us struggle to correct people when they misname us, when they dismiss us or call us something that we don't want to be called. We tell ourselves it's no big deal. I don't want to be rude. They didn't mean any harm, right? But here's the truth. Every time you silence yourself, you're teaching your spirit that your comfort comes second. And when you do that long enough, you start to feel disconnected from who you really are. You know, and I'll share something with you that I've witnessed in coaching sessions. I had a client who was constantly being called nicknames at work that she never agreed to. And she would always just laugh it off because she didn't want to seem uptight. But as, you know, we kept going through sessions, we began peeling back the layers. And she realized it wasn't about the name itself. It was about the lack of respect. It was about people, you know, assuming that they could define her instead of honoring how she defined herself. And so once she started correcting them, even with something as small as, please use my name, right? She started noticing something powerful. Not only did people start respecting her more, but she started respecting herself more. That's what boundaries do. They send a message to the world and to yourself that I am worth honoring. And I know that for some of us, setting boundaries feels scary, right? Because we've been told that it makes us difficult, ungrateful, unapproachable, right? But let me flip that perspective. Boundaries are actually the most loving thing you can give someone. Because boundaries say, I care enough about this relationship to give it structure where I can thrive without resentment. So when we talk about not wanting to be called baby or sweetheart without our permission, or correct someone who shortens or abbreviates or butchers our name, it's not about being petty. No fear, no doubt. Welcome in. It's not about being petty. It's about being clear. It's about making space for healthy connections instead of forced familiarity. Every time you set a boundary, you honor your worth. It says that my peace is non-negotiable and my name is not optional. My name is not too much. My name is not too hard. My name deserves to be spoken with care. I want us to just pause for a moment right here and really take in the depth of this conversation, because sometimes I don't think that people know how deep this really goes. Because again, when we're talking about names, we are not just talking about syllables. We're talking about survival. We are talking about dignity. We're talking about history that runs so deep it still echoes in our bodies today. For so many of us, especially Black and brown folks, right? Names carry the weight of what our ancestors endured. During slavery, our names, our identities were stolen from us. Families torn apart, African names stripped away, replaced with names of enslavers. That wasn't just a change of labels. It was a declaration of ownership then. It said that you don't belong to yourself anymore, you belong to me. That's why misnaming, shortening, renaming someone can be so triggering. It's not just about, this present moment. It's about the trauma encoded in our history. It's about the reminder that somebody at some point decided that we weren't worthy of being called by our true names. And every time we let it slide, it brushes up against that deep wound. What up, Mr. T? Now, let me bring it a little closer to home. Think about women, people. I'm not even just going to say women. People who have been in toxic relationships. Hold on, y'all. All right, so think about people who have been in toxic relationships where, whether it was with like a narcissistic partner, in cycles of abuse, or in controlling environments. One of the first things that abusers often do is strip away your identity. They call you names to diminish you. They replace your identity with something that they can control. And while these words can sometimes sound sweet on the surface, in the wrong mouth, they become chains. So when a woman says, "Don't call me baby," it's not just about the word. It's about reclaiming her identity. It's about refusing to be owned, minimized, or defined by somebody else's comfort. And it doesn't just happen in, personal relationships. Again, it happens in schools, workplaces, everyday interactions. Social media is notorious for it, right? We see you. We've given ourselves a name. I'm Life Coach 614. Don't call me baby. Right? It happens every day. Someone sees your name, but they decide that is too hard for them to say. Right? And they shorten it. They change it. Yeah, they change it. That's erasure. It's dismissal. That is someone prioritizing their convenience over your identity. Thank you, Mr. T. What up, Coco? And I know that some people are going to say it's not that deep. I didn't mean anything by it. Right? But here's the thing. Impact is greater than intention. I want to say that again. That is such a key lesson to understand. Impact is greater than intention. So just because you didn't mean to hurt me doesn't mean I am not hurt. Just because you did not mean offense doesn't mean that I'm not offended. Okay? Impact is greater than intention. You don't have to mean harm for it to cause harm. And if a person tells you their name, what their name is, how to pronounce it, or what they prefer to be called, that is a gift to you. It's not optional. When we honor someone's name, thank you, Coco. When we honor someone's name, we honor their story. We honor their ancestors. We honor the child inside of them who needed to feel seen. Welcome in, Candace. This is why we cannot dismiss these conversations, you guys. We can't write these conversations off as small or petty. For some of us, it is layered. It is historical. It is personal. So ask yourself, thank you. Ask yourself, where have I been dismissive of someone's name? Have I ever shortened it, changed it, or avoided pronouncing it correctly because I felt uncomfortable? And how can I do better moving forward? Right? Now that we've talked about, why names carry weight historically, culturally, personally, right? Let's get into the practical, pronouncing someone's name correctly. Because here's the truth. It's one thing to respect a name, and it's another thing to entirely say it right. We live in a society where some names may be unfamiliar, right? It may be difficult to pronounce at first, and that's okay. Nobody expects you to be perfect all the time. No one expects perfection, especially the first time. But here's the catch. Effort is a sign of respect. You attempting to get my name correct is a sign of respect. But laziness, avoidance, or making up your own version without my permission is not respect. That's convenience at the expense of somebody else's identity. So, okay, what if you're unsure how to say it? What if you can't remember how to pronounce it? Here's a thought. Ask. Ask them. Listen. Repeat it. Practice it until you get it right. And if somebody corrects you, if somebody, lets you know, hey, nice try, but it's actually this, please resist the urge to shorten it. If I say that my name is Shantae, do not tell me I'm not going to remember that. Can I just call you Tay? Did I offer you to just call me Tay? My friends call me Tay. Are you my friend? Right? So please resist the urge to shorten it, to twist it, to abbreviate it, or to give it a nickname that you feel like would be easier. If they wanted you to call them something else, they would have told you. It's not your job to decide what's easier for you. It's your job to honor them. What up, Camp Crazy? Take a moment to think about your name. When was the last time someone made an effort to get it right? And think about how that made you feel. And okay, think about when somebody didn't get it right. How did that impact your energy or your sense of being seen? Welcome in, Rick. Remember, pronouncing someone's name correctly is not a favor. That is the baseline of respect. It's a daily practice of honoring identity, honoring history, and honoring the person in front of you. Now, I want to also touch on something that I think is like the heart of this conversation. And, we already kind of went into it when we went about the history in the names. But I want to talk about the trauma behind that trigger. Thank you, girl. Thank you. Hold on, because I feel like I'm moving backwards. We already talked about the trauma. No, so I think we talked about the trauma. Hold on, you guys. My notes are all over the place. No, we did that. We're ahead of schedule, guys. All right. So put a green heart in the chat if I know, right? Go Sid, you came back swinging hard this week. Listen, I felt like a lot has had to be said here lately. And yeah, gloves are off. Gloves are off, Ghost. Okay. So I'm going to tell y'all again, y'all may want to cover up y'all's toes because I'm stepping on everybody's toes. And that's okay because I'm doing it with love. Now, I want you guys to put a green heart in the chat if this conversation today just made you think about a person's name a little differently. Maybe it encouraged you to advocate for yourself, or maybe it gave you, thought that, hey, I need to be a little more mindful or respectful when I call somebody baby or sweetie, boo, right? So if it gave you just a little food for thought, I'm not saying that you have to agree with me. I'm not saying that it even has to matter to you. I just want to know that it gave you pause. It gave you something to think about, some type of food for thought. Yes, Kim. Yes. Cardi C, welcome in. As we wrap up our conversation today, I want you guys to take a deep breath with me. Inhale. Exhale. Again, inhale through your nose. Exhale from your mouth. Again, I know that today we talked about something that seems small on the surface when it comes to names, pet names, mispronunciations. But we've uncovered how deeply connected this is to our identity, to our boundaries, our history, and our healing. Your name is sacred. Your story is sacred. Your boundaries are sacred. And no one gets to write them for their convenience, comfort, or control. Exactly. It's respect, plain and simple, Camp. Exactly. And we have to remember that respect starts with acknowledging someone fully. And that starts with their name. That's the first thing we do when we meet people. We introduce ourselves. Hi, my name is, right? It starts with listening. It starts with putting forth effort. It starts with honoring the space between their voice and yours. It is time for us to reclaim what is ours, to stand firm, to correct people when they misname you, speak up when someone crosses your boundary, and don't apologize for demanding the respect that you deserve, the respect that is your birthright. Welcome in, Lisa. My final affirmation for you today is I am seen. I am heard. I am honored. My name, my story, and my boundaries are sacred, and I will protect them with love and courage. I am seen. I am heard. I am honored. My name, my story, and my boundaries are sacred, and I will protect them with love and courage. And here's my invitation to you. Take what we talked about today and put it into practice. Start by thinking of your own name and your own boundaries. Share your story. Tell someone how it feels when your name is honored or when it's dismissed. And if you're ready to step deeper, into this work of self-respect and healing, I encourage you to head over to the website at selfcareclub.org. You can hop into our self-care community. You can comment on the blogs, see other podcasts. But that is the area where we share, we heal, we grow together. You'll find all sorts of tools, resources, affirmations, and just a safe space to explore your boundaries, honor your identity, and practice self-care in every single part of your life. Now, before we part ways, let me go ahead and give you guys a little love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. Keep choosing peace, even if it feels just out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. Don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you.